Hello, this is Martin the Boss, and again I welcome you to another analysis video of the Euskirchen Open. This time it's round 3. I have at this moment 1.5 points out of 2 games because I won my first round and I drew my second round. And in this third round I'm playing James D. Whitmire. Or Whitmere, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce his name. And his rating is 2004. So again, I'm playing an opponent that is more than 100 points stronger than me, but not as strong as the opponent in round number 2. So if I draw this game, this is good for me. But maybe I can win this game somehow. Hopefully, I don't lose. So I started with playing c4, and this time my opponent actually played a normal opening and not b6. So I kind of do weird stuff as well. So I play g3, I play bishop g2, he goes knight f6, and I exchange on d5. He takes back the pawn, I play d4. So this is like not so great for white. There's like almost no advantage here. I go knight f3, castles, knight c3, then he plays c6. I go castles, and he plays rook e8. So in blitz games, I like to do something like play bishop f4, and then they take, and we get this doubled pawn. But it's kind of alright. But that's in blitz. So in here, I'm not doing this. Still, I didn't quite come up with too many good stuff, so this game is not going to be so great for me. I played the move h3 because I did not want his bishop to come to g4. I would not do this again. I would do something else. I don't know what, but yeah, my idea obviously is to go to e3 with my bishop. That's what I want to do, and then he has trouble playing c5. But then maybe he can just play knight g4, and then I don't know really what to do. But even worse, if I go bishop e3 here, he can, after h3, take this pawn. So he plays bishop f5, and then I play knight h4 because, again, I mean, I can't play this because bishop takes g3. And then I lose a pawn. And that's actually not so great for me. I mean, maybe I can do something in this situation, but yeah, after h3, I mean, basically I'm forcing him to go to f5 because he can't go to g4. So then I went for knight h4, and he played queen d7. So he didn't retreat the bishop, so I can get the bishop pair. He takes with the queen, but he has more development than I have. His rook is already on a half-open file. I do have the bishop pair, but this bishop is also not so great, my dark squared bishop. And I don't know where to develop this guy, because, again, bishop e3, bishop takes g3. So maybe I should play king h2, but then I'm walking into this pin. So I just play e3 and say, okay, whatever. I will either do something like this, or maybe I can go b3 and bishop b2, maybe even a4 and bishop a3. So my opponent played knight bd7, and I go queen f3. So in all those moves, black will have a slight advantage, not too much, but slight advantage for like a long time. So I go queen f3. Obviously, he does not want to exchange queens here. At least I think that's not what he wants to do, because I have a passive bishop, but I don't really have any big weaknesses. So I don't know about this endgame. So he goes queen g6. maybe again doing some pins, some annoying stuff. And then I went rook to d1. So this might seem a little bit strange because I'm not solving my problem with my c1 bishop. But there is an idea actually. So after the game, I told my opponent, well, maybe this rook d1 move in the opening wasn't so great. And then he said, well, actually, I think it was a really good move because, I mean, this is some idea. Not the only idea, but this is one idea at least. To maneuver the bishop to f1 and then to d3, attacking the queen and eyeing h7. Yeah, maybe black can simply play h5. This is a move the engine is suggesting, and put pressure on the king side. Because my bishop has no effect there, and yeah, all of his pieces are like attacking the king, basically. Yeah, so h5 might be the way to go. But he played knight g to f8, like knight f8, actually. So, I mean, there's a clear idea. He wants to go to e6, and then maybe he wants to just jump to g5, attack the queen, go to e4. Because if he does something like this, I take I can take the knight, and then yeah, I don't know. I either exchange queens or he has to take with the pawn. So yeah, and then again my rook is on d1 okay because I can push d5 after the pawn takes. So that's actually might be okay. So what he wants to do is he wants to like go to f8, then to e6, then to g5, and then jump with one knight to e4, and then capture back with the other. So I go knight e2 because I need to do something active. Maybe I can do h4 just to protect g5, but I really didn't like that. But I mean, because what else am I going to do? Am I going to do this bishop d2 and then rook a c1? Maybe that's even okay. I don't know. But yeah, so I go queen and knight e2 because I want to jump into f4. And if he gives up this bishop, which is a very, very strong bishop, one of the best pieces he has, I'm completely fine. Then in an endgame, it's not so great for me. But I mean, I have two bishops versus two knights then. And once the position opens up, I might be okay in an endgame. Like if I maneuver this bishop, maybe play f3 or f4 or something, and then go to f2, then these bishops will be pretty good in the endgame on these diagonals. So I'm completely fine if he gives up this bishop. So I played knight e2, and then obviously when I move my knight away from controlling e4, he jumps into e4 right away. I cannot take the knight now. So I go into f4, and he does not want to give up his bishop because of the endgame we just talked about. So he plays queen h6. And now I thought, well, maybe now it's kind of okay because once my knight moves away, I can maybe someday push my pawn and attack his queen with a bishop. On the other hand, if he does something like this, knight g5, he might be putting too much pressure against h3. Maybe not in this position now, but if he like then takes and then can take on h3 with check, then maybe that's alright for him. So I play h4 to prevent knight g5. So maybe I could have just stayed with my knight on c3 and do this right away, and then I'm better, I don't know, better than this position now. But this is all like minus 0.1, minus 0.3, minus 0.5 maybe, but not too much an advantage for black. But I'm so passive. So he goes into e6. Maybe I could take there, but then he can take back with the rook and swing over to either f6 or g6, and then go with the other one. And I really don't like this, so I didn't take on e6 there. Instead, I played queen g4 because I felt like I do have to do something. And after queen g4, maybe I'm threatening to take on e4. If he has to take back with the pawn, perfect. So that's why I moved queen g4. The downside about this is that I again move the queen, and I'm not doing anything about this bishop and this rook. I mean, this rook is like worse than this rook because it can swing over, but it's maybe as bad as the other one. But this bishop is horrible, and this bishop is so good. So after queen g4, he takes on f4. He takes my knight, and now again the rook is free to defend the knight. So if I take on e4 now, he can take back with the rook, maybe. Yeah. So I take with the e pawn. I cannot take with the queen because then bishop takes. And I didn't want to take with the g pawn because I felt like my h pawn would then be isolated and too weak in the endgames. So I took with the e pawn. The downside about this obviously is this pawn gets isolated now instead of the h pawn. But this pawn is protected by my rook at the moment. And yeah, this should be okay for me. Also, this pawn is rather strong than weak because it prevents him from playing c5. Yeah, and also when I take with this pawn instead of the other one, it makes my bishop a little bit stronger. So that's why I am okay with him having the open file. He has a rook on the open file, and I don't have any way of doing anything about that. So yeah, but maybe my bishop comes to life now. So I take with the e pawn, and then he goes queen g6. So he doesn't want to stay in this diagonal. Like for example, he goes rook e6. I go f5. I take the rook and the queen. So he goes queen g6, and this time actually I didn't want to take exchange queens because I think that if I take exchange queen now, this is just way too easy to play for black. Because he's just going to like double on the file, and then I don't see anyway how to play this and still draw. I think I'm losing then. So I went queen f3, which is again moving the queen and not doing anything about the bishop. But maybe I can then play push f5. So obviously he pushes f5, and then what? Yeah, I'm so passive. And then okay, whatever. Let me just go into e3. So I'm blocking the file, and my bishop is rather a pawn than a bishop. But he cannot do anything in the file now. There's no way for him to do anything at this file as long as my bishop stands on e3. It's impossible for him to play c5 because of the bishop and the pawn. There's no way he can play c5. And also it's blocking this. Also with this knight, he can basically not attack my bishop because he would have to go into g4 or into c4, but that's not happening anytime soon. Also, if he tries to go to g4, I can maybe play bishop here and then exchange this guy. Again, I have a bad bishop and he has a good bishop, but I'm blocking the file. He cannot play c5. What is he going to do? So he plays bishop c7 because he wants to free up the d6 square, so he can move the knight there, maybe, and then go to c4. I activate my rook. At least the rook is doing something there. Also, in some cases, the bishop might be hanging, so I don't like bishop c7 too much. And then he goes a5, which I think is kind of alright, because he has to do something. I mean, if he doesn't do anything, we draw. So, but I don't know about the a5 move. It has some weaknesses, I think, but it's gaining space on the queen side. So I go rook d3. Yeah, and I want to, in some cases, swing over to a3 or to b3 or double on c3 if the knight is not there any longer. Maybe if he goes back, then maybe I can take on c4, sacrifice the exchange or something. So d3 is definitely a better square than d1, in my opinion, at least. So what else am I going to do? I have to activate my pieces somehow even more, and this is the way I chose. So he plays a4, so I cannot go rook b3. Rook b3 is impossible now. And again, if I try to move b3 or b4, he can take, and then has the half open or open a file, which is definitely bad for me. So I don't want to allow this. And then I thought, okay, let's play bishop f1. Because, yeah, maybe I can maneuver my bishop to the queen side, because it seems like on the queen side everything is happening now, because he kind of blocked up everything with f5. And his knight is standing there, but not really attacking anything, except for g3 and f2, but it's defended multiple times. So let's just swing over the bishop. That's why I played bishop f1. Also, if he tries to do this maneuver, I can then maybe take on c4. So he plays queen e6, doubling on the file. So if I ever move this bishop away, he is on the open file there. I go queen d1, and my idea is go play rook a3 and attack the a pawn 2 times, and then his only way to defend this pawn would be to play b5, and then he has a weakness on c6, and then maybe I can with queen c2 attack the c pawn, and then I have a plan suddenly. Also, in some cases, maybe I can go into b4 after he pushes a4, so that my bad bishop is then an active bishop, at least. So he just played g6, puts another pawn on on the light squares. He has all his pawns on light squares, and his bishop is very, very, very strong. And my is like very, very, very bad, and I have all the pawns on the same color as my bishop. Although I have 2 bishops, but whatever. So I go swing over the rook, and he plays bishop d6, and then I look kind of stupid and go back to d3. The reason why I cannot take on a4, or why I shouldn't maybe, is like he takes, I take with the queen, and all of a sudden he takes on g3, and I'm losing. Black is winning this position. If I take, he takes on e3 with check. And if not, I have to play rook e3, rook e1. But even then, this is completely over. There's like no compensation at all. He's getting to my king there. So that's why I didn't take on a4, so I went back. If I can somehow, after he plays g6, this is like engine says minus 0.4 still, and this is still the same thing. So if I can do something else for like one move maybe, or something like this, for example, play king g2 and then play my rook over, then he has to break this weakness. So maybe that's the way to go. Maybe I should play king g2 in this position now. That's another reason why I wanted to play the bishop to f1, so my king can go to g2. Because there's no queen invading here. I mean, it takes forever for the queen to invade on these squares. So I don't need my bishop to stay on g2. My king is completely fine there. So I went back to d3 then, and he plays h5, another pawn there, and I think this is not such a great move. You will see later, but it's not a bad move. I mean, it's not a great move either, though, I think. So I went back to g2. I didn't know really what to do because my rook has no squares. Like, if I can't, I cannot move my rook. And I mean, this is not doing anything, so I just went back to g2. He goes to f8, so we are short on time, and we need to make some moves, so that's why our moves may not be the best ones. So I went to c2 with my queen, and he went to d6 with the knight, and I went to e1 with my rook. So maybe I could have I don't know, stayed on f1 with my bishop, and then in such a position maybe like swing the rook over, my king is on g2, and then maybe we can do this, because then c6 is really the target. But not here, so I went to e1 with my rook, and he went into c4, and now I cannot take on c4 with my bishop, because it's not possible. And he is attacking my bishop, so maybe he can take on e3 now, and then I have a bad endgame, because I have backward pawn and this half open file. So I went with my rook to d1. The other move might just be bishop to d2. If instead he tries to play this a3 move someday, I'll just play b3, like move before. So I went rook back to d1 so that my rook is protected. And so if I move my bishop now, this is better. Also, if he takes the bishop, I can take with the rook. I'm threatening his queen, so queen moves away, and then I can maybe double. If my rook is on d3 and he takes, I can't really do this. But still, my bishop is also kind of pinned. I want to go to c1, maybe even to like protect b2. But then my rook would be hanging, so I went back to the d1, and he goes queen d6, which I really don't understand, but yeah, okay, maybe he wants to go to b4, so I go a3 also. I kind of feel like I have to do this. Maybe I can even do something like this now. If I can get there, then this would be fine, I think. The problem is I'm putting another pawn on the same color as this bishop, and I'm creating a hole on b3, so in some cases he might use this with the knight. But, I mean, what should I do? So he went to c7, maybe wanting to go to b6 to attack the b pawn. So I went to d2, and he played b5. So he thought, okay, whatever, I don't have to rush, I can just make some moves. And you cannot play b3 ever, pretty much, so yeah, his knight is really fine there, and he thought, okay, let's just play b5. And then I played bishop to c1, which is a mistake. I should play bishop to b4 here, which I do later, kind of, but I didn't see that, or I didn't consider that move that early, and I also was afraid, which I should not be, about piece sacrifice on a3, winning 2 pawns, getting 2 connected passed pawns on the queen side, but it's actually not good. Both piece sacrifices are not good. So, but still I went to c1. This is move number 34, so we have still a kind of 6 more moves to do before time control. So this is not easy because we have very little time. This position, the engine says, is like minus 1.1, so black is better. I mean, obviously black is better, but it's not winning yet. So he went queen a5, attacking the rook for a second time, so I kind of have to do something. And I played bishop d2, so attacking the queen. And then he went to b6, putting pressure on my d-pawn. If I like don't see this, maybe in some weird cases he can take on d4. But now I played the bishop b4, realizing that if he takes this bishop, I get double pawns. Maybe he can push a3 then, but whatever. My bishop has to be activated, and yeah. So he took on e1 with check, and I have to take back with my bishop. At least I thought I had to. It shows that it is possible to take with the rook. I thought, well, he can exchange on b4. I take on b4, and then he takes on d4 with his queen. But I do have the open file, so I actually can play something like rook e6. And this is not so bad for white. The other possibility is to play queen e2 and even get doubled on the file. This is both moves are equal. So I could have taken on e1 with my rook, but I took with the bishop because I wanted to keep my rook to protect the d4 pawn. And this is actually, I mean, in time trouble you don't see the best moves. So he played b4, and since I just came from b4 square, I was really happy to take on b4 the pawn, because I wanted to move my bishop there anyways. So I take the pawn, and he takes everything, and then he takes on b4, since d4 is protected. But here I thought, well, okay, I move queen e2 now, and go ahead, take my b pawn if you want. I get activity, if not perpetual maybe. So he went back to d6, does not take my b pawn, and then I played rook a1. Idea, play b3, and the knight is attacked, and he cannot. I mean, there's this pin, so he can't take because I can take on a8 check. But if he moves back the knight, I can take on a4. So then, if I can exchange those pawns, this is much better for me than it is for him, because this might be his passed pawn that he wants to queen. So he went knight g6, knight b6 to protect his rook, so that if I play b3, then he can take on b3, and if I take the rook, he takes like with the knight, and then he has his pawn there. But this is actually good for white, so I should have actually played this move maybe. And if he takes, like we do something like this, I give check here, and then king somewhere. And I'm not so sure if I should take this knight. Maybe I have to, I don't know. But maybe in some cases this is getting really scary. I'm up a piece here, but this might be dangerous for me, really. I mean, I can block and stuff, but I don't know about this. But I could just try to give some kind of perpetual, maybe. But I guess the queen is too strong there to defend. So, but I didn't go for that. I just played bishop f3. I thought like, okay, whatever. I just improve my bishop, I move my king, and okay, go ahead, do something. I don't know what you were gonna do, but I want to activate my bishop now, since we traded dark squared bishops. My bishop might be even better than the knight now. So, and then I don't know, I go somewhere like here, and then I do stuff with my bishop. So I start with bishop f3. In some cases, I might take. Then he goes to f7. So he's preparing maybe some moves like rook e8. Also, he's defending e7 and e6 for against my queen, so I can't invade. But he goes to f7. So I was already thinking, okay, can I maybe take here, and then like do this? But I guess queen g6 is just too strong. I don't have check now, and I don't want to trade queens in this position because the knight is too strong. I have a passed pawn, but I can't promote the pawn, so this is not enough. But king f7 looks strange, so I thought, well, I move my rook to e1 now, and if he's not careful, I can actually do something on h5 now, because now I have a rook on the open file also. And then he played knight d7, and I thought, okay, I'm going to take this pawn. You can take on h5 if you want to, I don't care. I'm going to win your queen, or I have perpetual. So he doesn't take, he played knight f6. If he takes, most likely this is losing, because this is check now. And if he moves his queen there, I win his queen, because I go rook check. And if he takes, I can take his queen. I mean, but it's check, so he has to move the king, because he cannot capture the rook. And he cannot go to g7, so he goes to f6, and then I go rook e6 check, and if now takes, and if he doesn't, he has to go back, and then I can take on g6. So this is definitely losing. So he would have to move his king, but where I mean, he cannot go here. So yeah, that has to go to f6 or to one of those squares. If he goes to f6 or h6, I can just keep checking on the h file, and he cannot put anything in between. If he goes to f6, also he loses the queen, because I could then take. But if he cycles between those two moves, I have perpetua, or I could maybe take the rook. So he cannot do this. So if he goes to g7, then I can actually, or to g8, I can actually give a check here, and then I get the e7 square. Or I can take on f5 with check, and this is just winning. So he cannot take the bishop, and he didn't. So he played knight f6. So I went to f3, and I offered a draw. I'm up a pawn here, but I don't really see a win for me now at the moment. But he didn't want to take the draw because he's more than 100 points more rated than me, so he wanted to win this position. And he moved rook to e8. By the way, this position is like 1.3 better for white, obviously because I'm up a pawn, and there's no real compensation. So I went with my queen to d1, and he did not exchange. So he went queen b4 again, attacking my rook for a second time. And I don't want to give him the file, so I take on e8. He takes with the knight, and both of my pawns are attacked, d4 and b4. and I cannot defend both at the same time because the only square really is d2, but it's protected. So I cannot protect both my pawns, but he cannot take d4 because it's already protected. And if he takes on b2, I might just take on a4. So I thought, okay, whatever, I'll move h5. And this is my plan of attack. So I'm going to take on g6, or if you take, I take on h5 with check, and then I take on e8, and then I get perpetual. I thought, like, I can then go to h5 with my queen. And he cannot push g5 because I can take. So he played knight f6. Pushing is not really anything, so I take on g6. He takes with the king, and I cannot go to h5 because the knight is defending it. But I just move king g2. Maybe I can go with the queen to the open h file, and then maybe to h8 and do something there. Maybe not, because the knight is defending everything. But king g2, I think, is better than on g1. Okay, this happened again. Let me go back to our position. Knight f6, and then after king g2, he went to e4. So again, he did not take my b pawn for the last few moves, and not now. So I take on e4. He has to take. I'm pretty sure if he takes on b2 now, this should not be enough. The pawn is strong, but at least I think I can take on f5 with check and then take on a4. But I don't have to do that. I can just move my bishop somewhere, and then yeah, this is just too strong. g4 is coming, and maybe even queen g4 is coming. Might also be enough because the pawn is pinned. So he takes back. He takes with the d pawn. Taking with the f pawn is allowing queen g4, so he has to take with the d pawn. But now g4 is coming, and now he takes on b2. I could maybe take on a4, but I think the more logical thing is take on f5 with check. Because now maybe I have actually chances of winning, because the king is so open. So he takes, I go queen h5, check, and this is a draw now. With best play from both sides, this is a draw. He went to f6 because he still wants to win, because he has a passed a pawn, so his ambition is just to queen the pawn. But he can't really, but he can't really go to f4, take on f4, because then I can go to e5 check, and he's only one square, which is g4, and then I can take on e4 with check, and he has to go to one of those squares, and then I can just give a check here with the queen, and I've perpetual at least. Maybe I can someday do something, not right now, but yeah, maybe I can do something there. So he went to f6, which is maybe even worse, I don't know. I go to e5 with check, and now I have perpetual if he stays somewhere there. I mean, I can pretty much like do all these checks like forever, and also go somewhere else with my queen, depending on where he goes. So he goes to f7. I go to f5 check, and then he goes to e7, and I thought, wow, okay, I can take on e4 with check now, and I did. But he's still trying to win. He could just move around, but he goes to e7, so I take him to check, and he goes to d7. I go to f5 with check. I again want to be able to use all of those squares. And he goes to c7. And now I thought, well, maybe I can win now actually, because I go to a5 with check. He goes to d6 and I take on a4. All my pawns are protected except for f4, but he has no checks. That's why I wasn't afraid, so I took on a4 and he went to e2. And now he's kind of threatening to go to g4 with check, and then maybe have this perpetual. But I want to win, obviously, so I went queen b4 check. Maybe queen a3 check is better, because then I can maybe do something like this. But I went to b4, he went up to d7, I went to b7 check, and after this move I repeated so that I can have more time, and then I went to e5, which is not good. I should have, in this position, I should go to g7, which is protecting the d pawn and also protecting g4. And this is actually most likely a win for white. He has a check on e4, but I can go to g3, and if he then gives check, I can push f3, and I can try to promote my pawns. I didn't see that, unfortunately, and I thought, well, let me just go to e5 and all my pawns are protected and now push my pawn. The problem is that after queen g4 check, it's a draw. We repeat it because we have these 30 seconds increment per move, so we get a little bit seconds. And then I had to block with my queen. I have no other choice, else it's a draw. And he takes on d4. So now I'm up a pawn, but it's a doubled isolated pawn. Like, yeah, there's almost no way to win this. So I played queen e3. He gives check, I go to g2, he gives check on d5, I block with f3, and then he pushes c5. So, how do I make progress? Maybe, I mean, like these moves, maybe I should have gone queen e4, maybe queen e4, I don't know. But this is like no way I can win this, because he has like perpetual and everything. Also, even if I can improve my king a little bit, there's actually no way that I can win this. But I thought, well, if I can maybe trade queens, like with such a move, for example, maybe this is then somehow a win. It's not. But yeah, I mean, I had to try something. I don't want to do a draw directly, but after king e2, my opponent played queen d3 and offered a draw, and obviously I mean, there's no way I can win this position. So we drew the game, which is actually pretty good for me considering the position I had with the bad bishop. Also drawing against an opponent that is more than 100 points higher rated than me, which also should be pretty good. And I have 2 points out of 3 games, and finished day 2 of the tournament. And on day 3 of the tournament, there is round 4 and 5 coming. So see you in the analysis of the next videos.